I'm gonna be making a sweet summer dress up ahead, and I'm gonna need a white underskirt for that, so that's what I'm gonna be making in this video. I'm gonna use two types of tulle fabric. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's this sort of net looking fabric. So I have this is the first one. This is pretty rough and harsh. There's no stretch in this fabric. And then I have this one, which is softer and has smaller holes. I have more of this softer one and a little bit less of the harsher one. I'm also going to be using this stretchy thick ribbon and white thread, but I'm going to make this as easy as possible. Obviously, if you want to make a proper skirt out of this, not just an underskirt, you can use a non-see-through white fabric underneath all this, but this is just to be an underskirt, so I'm not going to bother with having it not be transparent. Now the first thing I'm going to do is measure my waist, where I want my skirt to sit, to fit really well. And I want it to be pretty much where my navel is. So I'm just going to measure it all the way around. And as always, add a couple of centimeters. Now, even though we're going to be using this stretchy ribbon, I don't want the skirt to be really, really tight. I want to be able to move it up and down, so I'm not going to have this ribbon be really, really tight around my waist. So I'm going to measure it and then add like 2 centimeters or something like that. I'm going to take that measurement and cut a piece that matches that out of the stretchy white ribbon. And then I'm going to sew the edges together. Onto the stretchy ribbon, and we're going to sew this inside out. So the fabric I'm putting on first is the one I want on top of them when the skirt is finished. So I'm starting with the one that's a little bit rough, and this one reaches a little bit more than once around my waist, so I'm gonna have to fold it. If you saw my video when I did the puff sleeve top, you might have recognized that I folded a couple of creases to make it puffy. That's what we're going to do here too. So, flipping this back inside out, because we're going to flip it afterwards. Pinning the top edge of the layer I want as close to this edge as possible. And then I'm going to sew down here. I'm going to sew both straight and zigzag, and then we're going to fold the skirt over like this. But I'm actually going to sew both layers on at the same time, so I'm going to pin this and I'm going to pin the outer fabric on top of it. Actually, I decided to close the open edge of the skirt before I pin anything to this. So just close the open edge and sew this shut. I'm going to be using zigzag and straight here as well. Actually, I'm not going to do a straight seam. I'm only going to do zigzag, but I'm going to do 2 laps. So I'm going to put my needle down, flip the fabric over, and just sew it right back over across again. So I have 2 zigzag seams, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other fabric. The other fabric is actually folded in half, because it is, I just have more of it, so got 4 layers to sew through here. And once again, I've folded it over and I'm going back the other way now. Both my pieces are now sewn closed, so I'm gonna pin them to the stretchy ribbon. All insides turned outwards, because remember, we're gonna flip the skirt all over when we're done sewing. I've attached my first pin. What I'm gonna do next is find the other middle part of the ribbon and find both middle parts of both pieces of fabric, pin that, then find 2 more middles, do the same thing, and then start folding these little creases that will make the skirt puffier. Okay, so I have my 4 main needles pinned together with both fabrics. What we're gonna do next is make these little creases all the way along so that the end result is tight over here, but we get this nice little puffy end over here because we want the skirt to be sort of cupcakey. So I have a lot of extra fabric over here. Just find the upper edges. Find the middle and start there and then go to both sides. You can be really precise and measure these, but since this is only going to be an underskirt, I'm not going to be that careful. So this side of this middle pin now only got 1 fold, but that doesn't matter. So just go all the way around, and then we're going to sew as close to this edge as possible. Once again, using the zigzag. Okay, I am done with my pinning. And a tip, sorry to give this to you after having done the pinning, but a tip is to make the folds go in the same direction all the way around. It'll just make it easier for you to pass over them while you're sewing. So we're gonna sew pretty close to the edge, just making sure we get all the layers. And when we're done, we're just going to flip the skirt inside out. I'm going to start sewing where my folds are. I've kept all my folds together. And unless you have to clean up some of the edges down here, your skirt is basically done. So we're just going to flip it inside out. Or the right way, because it has been inside out so far. And this is the end result. Nice and puffy, just like that. Well, thanks for watching this video on how to make a white underskirt. See you next time.